Okay, welcome to the VTS49 for March 2009. We are going to be in our second installment of animating a James Brown inspired dance. For those of you who want to know all about how I got the video breakdown for this dance and everything, all my thought processes that go into it, check out VTS48, which is available in some form somewhere. Actually, it's in my back issue store if you want to check it out. It covers all of how I arrived at these little drawings and stuff like that, of which there are several, to try and figure out what this dance is. So I'm just going to hop into Maya here and just start posing this thing out using my drawing method, and I'm just going to get right in there. The first pose I seem to recall is, if I were to look at it here, get rid of some of these folders so that this business shows up easier. Okay, so we'll get our hips like so. Take these guys, rotate them back like so. Get this foot up in the air. Okay, and get this hand up like so. Elbows in like yay. And when it comes to the pardon me, I'm developing a bit of a cold. When it comes to the hands, I'm going to use relax for most of it for right now, just as a kind of boilerplate to kind of get these things into position. Let's see. And reset all this business to 0 there. I'm just quickly putting the hands and stuff into some kind of just basic posing that can work. Double checking everything, make sure it's okay. I don't want the elbows to be too crazy. Not right at first. And it's all really just about getting stuff pretty much in shape relative to that right there. Okay, so this arm's down a bit. This one's up a bit. Elbows up a bit. Probably get the shoulders like so. And there was a lot of times he's kind of looking down at what he's doing. So how does this look in the camera here? I want to make sure I get the weight over the foot here a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of dragging stuff over there. Want a good silhouette in the elbow. Alright. Want a good angle on the head. Nice and comfortable. Good angles, good curve, good counter rotation on the shoulders. Okay, so that's all working pretty well. So just for giggles, I'm going to key that. Okay, let me do that one more time. Okay, there we have. Now I've got the key. And then on our, I'm kind of trying to break this down as to what's going to be like a pose and stuff. And so what I want to do is I want to skip number 2, and I kind of want to go to the weight bottom where the weight's all the way down, kind of like, you know, kind of create kind of like the pose there, you know. This, I could animate this in a very straight ahead sort of fashion. But I'm gonna kind of give myself a few little places to go with this where, oops, I don't want to be able to select that. So take this, set it all to 0. Now in this instance, if we break this down, remember the right knee came in, knocked the left knee, then it started to swing out. And so the right knee is going to be out and the left knee is going to be kind of hitting its wall. So want something like this. Take this deal right there. Maybe get the toe twist through. Like so. Get that knee out. And get this knee out here. Okay. and it's not quite all the way down there. There's a point in this where his weight comes down here, that knee kicks out, kind of stops, hits a wall, and then as his weight bottoms right there, that knee kind of kicks, and as it does, this foot kind of reverses out. But I'm going to kind of create this number 4, and then I'll worry about like that 4.5, and then I'll do the 5. So right now, I'm just going to take this number 4. I'm tired of selecting that thing, so I'm just going to hide that. I'm going to take the toe twist just a little bit like so. Get him over like that. Let's see, what are we doing with the arms on number 3? Yeah, he's kind of switching to the side right here. Alright, so we got something like this, and like this, and like so, and like so. And take this deal right there. Now the upper body stuff, I'm just going to be roughing it in. I will go back and study the reference just a little bit more closely and break it down just a little bit more to kind of create a little tighter work on the reference here as far as you know, the upper body. And let's see here. And what I'm trying to do is kind of get the hips over this right here so that he can create that that rotate out with the heel, because in order to rotate the heel out, he's going to have to relieve some weight off of the toe so he can spin that out. So the hips are going to be a little bit more over this foot right there. All right, so take all this, set a key, and I just roll through my drawings here pretty quick. Alright, let me go ahead and do my 4.5, where then this kind of kicks out. That gets down all the way. I'll just rough in the hands real. Again, just really, really rough here. And what I'll do is I'll tighten these drawings up as I get, you know, as I get things a little bit closer. But for right now, I'm just really roughing them in. And it's at this point right there that I can start getting the toe twist out. And I guess that knee would come in like that. Okay. And as that one comes in, is that kind of that heel reverses out right there. I remember in the video where this heel started to come back up as it reverses in. So what happens then, stop it, is, what am I selecting here? All the same. This starts to lift up a bit. Maybe I'll just do the ball. There we go. And it rotates in some more. Okay, and the knee right there, then it can start to kind of slide over. Not really sure about the slide over bit right there, but take this guy right there, take the ball to nothing, take the toe twist out. And then what I'll do here on this one is I'll just create a bit more drag on the hand. And the same here with this, so that the hands have somewhere to go. And then I'll grab that right there. So as it goes up, so let me select all these things and key them and key them. Alright, so I'm just trying to capture what I'm getting in the boards, or I'm sorry, in the thumbs. I think that's maybe coming up a bit too much. As I'm looking at it, it's coming up the same amount as that hand, because what we saw there is both hands were kind of rising the same amount in the space, and I didn't really like that. So I want that one to be out a little bit more. I want this one to come up a bit more, so that they don't have the same kind of movement. and the head can kind of counter rotate its way back there. Now, when he's like this, I'm still not. Take a look at the torso. Looks like his line right here on my number 3 note is like that. So something tells me that when he goes into the shuffle back, you know, it's kind of, he's doing this opposite thing with his knees. So it's going to be like that on the 4s, and then he straightens up after number 5 here. He straightens up for the shuffle back. So I want to make sure, based off of that right there, that his line of action for his torso is kind of like that. And that's kind of what we have. Kind of like that. So that's a good place to be. Okay. And we could probably straighten it up a little bit right here as a place, kind of reversing out of it. And maybe come up a bit. There we go. What I want to do is give some flexibility to the torso right there, so I'm trying to keep it so it doesn't feel frozen. So in that sense, I'm just doing a little bit of work here to kind of give it somewhere to go from there to there. See that? It's going from mostly straight to then it goes pretty well curved. So I'm trying to create some flexibility in the hips as I do this. I hit save. Pardon me again, like I said, I have a cold. And I'm moving through this fairly quickly because, well, a lot of the, like I said, a lot of the discussion about how we're doing these things ends up, you know, that was covered in last month's video. So now that I kind of got that worked out, I've figured out number 1, and I figured out number 4, 4.5, and 5. Let me go back and kind of work out 2 and 3. Okay, so 2 is when his weight's starting to come down, that right knee comes in, and I'm working off the assumption that that right foot is going to be down all the way, and then when that right knee comes in, I want to have a place where the left knee is in and then have it come out. So I'm going to have a 2 where the right knee, where the foot's down, okay, and the right knee is out. I'm kind of breaking this down a little bit more. So let me come back here. Go to number 2. Well, I'm just going to middle mouse over. Take that right there. Set it all to 0. Okay. Take this foot key from right there. Copy it back. Okay, so it's at the right, you know, it's got the right distance set to it. And let's go ahead and do the toe twist this way so that the knee can be out. Okay, and we want this knee to be kind of in. Okay, like so. Well, actually let me take a look at this. That knee is out right there. So I need to fix this pose right there. That's what I was looking at. And as the foot comes down, that knee can kind of stay out there a bit. Alright, so that's kind of the idea. Let me go ahead and just key everything for that key right there. I'm also going to need some extra keys in here, some free frames to kind of work some stuff out. So I'm going to slide that way. So I give myself some more room here to kind of put those other drawings in the middle there. I'm not going to worry about the upper body just this second. I'll kind of go back and kind of backfill that. So then what I want to do is kind of start, oops, not that, I want to have the hips continuing their way down, but then have this knee kind of knock in like so, and have the foot start to spin out. Alright, so I'm trying to work out the footwork here. And then I'll take this knee right there and kind of keep it in. Alright, so as this foot, as I'm noticing, he's kind of landing his foot out here, but here his foot's kind of in. So what I'm going to do then is kind of take and do something like this with the foot, so it lands, so when it comes down, it doesn't feel quite so forced. Okay, and then also I'm going to adjust the hips or that part of the hips, so that as they come down, the weight's kind of coming over. It's coming down to the left and not down quite so much. So I'm just going to kind of ease back a little bit. Alright. So I'm just trying to roll through these drawings right here to kind of get a sense of what's happening with the footwork there. And at this point, I'm going to start working in the upper body just a little bit. I'm going to reverse this line of action right here. I wonder if there's a way to hide the extra head controls off. Yeah, whatever. Well, there's no way to do that, so I'll just come back over here, grab that. And what I'm doing here is I'm kind of creating this counter rotation, which is the best way to go ahead and give yourself some balance in a pose without him swaying back and forth like he's a tree in a breeze. And so let me grab this one and just push that just a bit more. I got hotkeys for jumping between my cameras, so if you're wondering how I'm doing that, it's just it helps me work faster, so I can grab things. That way I can work pretty much all in this one window, and it just makes life simpler for me to do that. It's a little Maya trick right there. Alright, so we're kind of getting there. And maybe the head's got to go a little opposite right there. And maybe kind of keep it balanced. So you notice right here the head's sliding straight down, but I'm reversing the angles on the line of action. See that? The line of action is actually making a big switch from this direction, and it switches over to this direction, but you'll notice that the head stays fairly stable straight up and down. Alright, so that's what we really want. That's how you keep stuff feeling loose and balanced at the same time. Alright, the arms, I'm not worried about them just a second. So now what I want to do from here is I've captured one, kind of a two sort of deal. Now I want to capture this moment right here is where I've kind of got this knee comes over and this knee is in. Now I want to capture this left knee kicking out. Okay, and that's kind of this number 3 right here, where the left knee kind of kicks out and the right knee kicks back out again. But there's kind of a drawing, a thumbnail between 2 and 3 that I haven't done yet. And when you think about it, it just makes sense. If this knee's out and this knee's kind of in, why don't we do a color we can actually see? And this knee is kind of in a bit, alright? And then this guy kind of pops in like this. Alright, so there's one drawing. Then what we need is another drawing where this knee stays in, but then this one kind of kicks out. Alright? So this would be number 1. Gosh, it looks kind of weird. Let me do this. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Okay, if you take a look at it, that's 1, 2. We've kind of done those. That's number 3 isn't really there. So anyways, that's the idea. Some of these I've actually done the thumbnailing to. So number 1 we did a thumbnail. Number 2 I kind of broke it down, but I didn't make any drawings for it. Number 3 is a drawing. So there's a process that's happening here, knee, that's happening across number 2, and I only made like notes, but I didn't make any drawings for it. So what we have here is, this is the number 1 drawing, and this is the number 3 drawing, and these 2 drawings right here represent that number 2 process that I just kind of took notes on. So that's what I want to work on here, is I want to kind of create that process. So there's the 1, so I've got to make the 3 now, okay? There's the first part of the number 2 process, there's a second part of the number 2 process. So now what I want to do here is go to the third part of the number 2 process. And I'm going to kick this guy in a little bit more. Then this guy starts to go out, and as he goes out, this starts to toe twist the other way. Okay? And as that happens, this one toe twists just a little bit more. Okay? And I'll take that little free in between right there and continue to push this reversal on the line of action here on the chest. And with this rig, it's really tempting to try and do everything with just this one controller right here, because you can do a lot with that controller. The problem is, the skinning is too localized to that one spot, so I tend to treat it mostly as an FK controller. And you only use the squashy stretchy bits for squashy stretchy. Okay, so as we see, the drawings are starting to work. That foot comes down, the right foot, the knee kicks in, knocks the left knee out. Okay, so we're starting to get a sense of how that whole business starts to work. Comes in, goes out. So right now what I'm going to try and do between 4 and this 8, where I moved everything off, is I'm going to work on this this toe twist thing right here, so that it feels a little bit more. I'm using a little script that will nudge it more like the next key. And how much that toe is twisting right there, I'm not really a big fan of how much it's twisting right there on the out. So I'm going to nudge that back a bit so it isn't twisting so much. And in here I'll make it a little bit bigger. So I'm just trying to get that footwork working. And just for fun, I'm just going to go back in here and key all of these controllers on these keys, and then take these and kind of collapse them back, because I like my drawings, my keys, to be all on successive frames where possible, so that I know what I'm working with. So that comes down. That works out pretty well. The arms I haven't worried about on number 2. Then that knee comes in like I wanted, and then that kicks that knee out. As that knee goes out, the toe starts to spin out right here. So that's this bit right there. Let me hide this and I'll go back and explain that just a second. And then it starts where this knee kind of is out, and then that toe spins in. And that gives us that nice little side, like, yeah, jazz, okay? Getting back to that whole process where I explained it before, number 1 drawing, which was lots of bunching back and forth. This right here was that number 1 drawing. I built that. That number 3 drawing was this one right here, where he's kind of bow-legged and his feet are kind of stable that way. This 2 drawing process right here for number 2. So all that is, there's the number 1, there's the 2 drawing process for number 2, actually probably a 3 drawing process for number 2 there, and then there was number 3, and then there's number 4. Now I need a little bit of something in here to kind of help fill it in a little bit, because the amount of change from there to there, we need something extra. Okay. And as I break this down a bit, I think what needs to happen is we need something where this foot, I don't know, let me think about this for a second. Maybe it's just that this one right there needs to be like that. Because I had him reversing his heels out there, and I'm not even sure that was even, yeah, there was no point at which his heel on his right foot kicked back out, and I had made a key here where right there I had kicked it back out and then I had it lifted in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this toe twist in a bit so it doesn't kick out. And so what I'm trying to do is simplify what's going on in the foot here, because it's going back and forth from drawing to drawing on the heel twist. And so when that happens, it creates kind of a noise right there. It goes in, then out a little bit, then in a bit. So we want it to just kind of go in, in. So it makes a progression that makes sense. So as it comes in, let me take my toe twist to minus 1.15, sorry. So then it goes in. See that? We want it to go progressively in. So it's going from minus 0.1 to minus 0.15 to minus 0.2 to minus 0.44. It's getting larger and larger each time. We didn't want it to go in, out, in, because then that out kind of makes it go So whenever you're cleaning up your motion, try and find ways to simplify things so that when you're going like that, you're not going back and forth unless you really, really want to. So it's really just a matter of being careful with your keys so that you're not sloppy about stuff. In this instance right here, I think that knee can come in a bit, and you can keep it out a little bit there, and then here we can kind of bring it in even more to kind of help sell that kick out right there. And then I'll make that a bit more like that. So as his knee comes in here, for the other one to kind of collide into it, it's kind of like bam, into it out there. And as that goes, this one, the heel starts to spin out here, and I can make this heel spin even a little bit bigger to really help sell that, and maybe even do a little bit of a ball raise just to give it a little bit of sell, and then take that and push it in. So I'm just trying to make the drawings even stronger now. Now that I got the mechanics working, I'm trying to get trying to kind of help sell it and push it. Alright, so now I've got that sort of deal working. I'm going to go back here and just try and smooth out the transitions on the torso. One way to kind of make that simple is I'm just going to turn these arms off for right now, which is a nice part about this rig. There's a big transition from this line here to this line right here. Okay, and what I have in the middle there really isn't one or the other, and that's okay, but I want to give that a better sense of drag. So I know that the hips here are kind of like that, and the shoulders are like that on one, and they're switching to the opposite like this on two. So a lot of times what I'll do there is I will drive from the hips and kind of create a sense of overlap. So what I'm going to do here is a real simple rule of overlap. If it starts like this on number 1 and then switches to this on number 2, okay, so there was our number 1 and number 2. I'll take the hips and on this breakdown right here, make them more like number 2 and the upper part more like number 1 to kind of create a good drag here. So I want the hips to be more like the second pose, which is that one. Now of course that causes the whole upper body to kind of weave out there, which isn't what I want. So in order to keep that whole thing balanced on itself, I need to kind of start counter rotating this stuff back in a different way. Alright. But I want to have some sense of drag to it, so I don't want it to be completely counter-rotated all the way yet. So I'm trying to create this subtle little S-curve deal right here. And let me see, grab this guy right there. And I don't want the head to travel over as far as it does. And you notice how it's coming over this way? I don't want that. I want it to be straight down. So what I need to do then is I need to kind of create this like I said, this kind of S-curve sort of shape, so it feels like he's sort of unfolding. See that? We're going from an angle where the hips, and I can actually even push these even more now that I look at it. I can take these hips and really push them like that. So I got a good strong line. And then here, the hips kind of drop over into this one early. So in that breakdown, the hips are getting most of the way there, and then, but everything else is still kind of hanging back the way it was, and that creates a nice bit of drag right there. Now the thing is, the head is still kind of traveling kind of funny, so I'm going to clean up that curve a little, that arc. Eyes right there, and then they kind of come straight down. So right here, maybe I just need to take this over like so. I'll oftentimes use a translate on the head for this rig because it's cleaner than using the neck. Alright, so here, let me go ahead and push this a little bit more to kind of create, stronger poses. And so my breakdown, let me make that more like the previous one so that there's a good snap on the head. Alright? As it comes down, snap on the head on that switch. Alright, so that's kind of working the way I want. That first bit of a move right there. And then for the whole switch for the hips to here, I need to kind of play the same game where it comes down like that. I want to actually push this and be stronger yet. What I have on number 3 on frame 3 is a pretty good line, but I want to on frame 4 here, I want to make that even stronger, and then save the switch for number 5, and then number 6 is kind of the reversal. So number 4 is kind of like an extreme, for the upper body anyways, kind of an extreme version of what's going on number 3. So that needs to be slightly down, rotated even stronger, and then this needs to be rotated even stronger, and this could be rotated even stronger, and this could even, this is one where I use a little bit of that squash and stretch to kind of compress it down. Okay, so I'm kind of creating, there's the hit and then there's an extreme, kind of like a real push into it. And I want to make sure that the head doesn't travel sideways here. You notice the head kind of comes down right there. Let me go ahead and pull this over just a smidge. Trying to keep the head fairly straight up and down as it goes. So as it does that, I'm going to pull it over just a bit. That makes that curve a little bit stronger, but it also stabilizes the head. So it's like these little adjustments. That's what I'll use that movable upper spine for. Okay, so there's a really strong line right there. So that's what we have. And then for number 6, we're going to reverse it out this way. Okay, so what I want to do then again is I want the hips to be more like number 6 and everything else to kind of trail behind. So I'll take these guys right there and I'll make them more like number 6. Take this, make it more like number 6, and then take these and make them more like the previous ones. Now, a lot of times this doesn't work out easily mathematically, so I have to kind of build it by hand. So that's where I want the head to be. So let me kind of do that deal right there. I still want the upper body to have that sort of backwards bend to it. So I want the lower body to be kind of bent more like number 6 and the upper body to be more like number 5, and that creates that nice, if I do it right, it creates a pretty pleasant feeling switch underneath. And by keeping the head stable, it gives the dance stability. Okay, which makes the movement of the feet much more interesting. All right, so 4, the upper body is like right there. So what I want to do then is take that upper body like so and continue it. Alright, so there we go. He comes down, does a little foot shake, and his torso works pretty well, and his head's fairly stable. The head could be cleaned up, but we'll do that a little bit later on as I clean up these drawings a little bit more. So there we go. We got that knee bumping in and the other one kind of kicking in. So pretty good progress right there. Good place to hit save. Let me then go ahead and turn on the arms just to kind of roughly place them into position as well. I don't want to leave them for too much later. So the arm's going to be like that. What I'd like to do with the arms is have it kind of make a nice clean sweep like that. You know, it's kind of out here, so let me sell it a little bit more. And go like so. Get a nice rotation there so it feels comfortable. Get this up a bit. Get this down a bit. Just trying to create a nice flow so that it has a nice flow inside the shape. And what I will do then is I'll go back and delete some of these keyframes that I had along the way and kind of rebuild them. I like number 5, not a real big fan of number 4. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of going pose to pose with a good breakdown for the hands. So I'm just going back and kind of deleting stuff. Yes, I actually do go back and delete stuff. Sometimes it's just what you got to do. Alright. So that's just a little bit better there. Kick this out. Get that up a bit. Or down a bit. Something. I want to create a nice line right there. And get that kind of across. Trying to find a nice deal here. There we go. And get this guy down. 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 Up. Alright, so from there to there. In that instance, I think it's pretty easy to see what our arc's going to be like, so let's just get to our halfway point here. I can delete that right now. And kind of drag that hand a bit. So we have a nice sweep there. We can take this elbow, kind of kick it in a little bit where the elbow drops in first. Kind of want it to lead with the elbow here, which means I'll take that and kind of nudge it back up a little bit. I could also take the fingers here and use them for this moment to, you know, a lot of times when I'm roughing this stuff in, I usually won't worry about the fingers, but in this instance I'll go ahead and I'll just rough it in real quick. Okay, I don't like that, so never mind. I'll clean up the fingers later on. There we go. If the hand's going to start right here, I don't want the fingers to kick back up over that because it creates a pop. So what I'm going to do right here is I'll get the hand flowing down. Again, to keep things from popping, you always want to move in the same direction with how things are moving. So with the elbow, can get the elbow down. In this instance, I could also drop the shoulder pretty quickly. Okay, and that could be like so. I can drop the shoulder a little bit more. Alright, so from here to here, and then along the way, let's go ahead and get this hand down, flowing back even more, but to the front. Let me see how this looks as on the way down. It needs to kind of cheat forward there a bit. I know that I'm not supposed to animate to the perspective view, but you always got to check the perspective view sometimes just to make sure that you're moving in space in a way that makes sense. Since this is CG, it's going to look weird if you render it and it's cheating in the Z space, unless you're going totally toon line. You know, if you're able to get away with toon shading, then you know you can get away with a lot more things. But in this instance, you know, it might behoove us to do some different things with it. Alright, trying to keep that hand with a nice swing, and if you go back and watch the video reference, which is, I've actually included that a bit, that video with this zip file, so you can kind of see what I'm working from. You'll get a sense that he kind of has that feel where he does that little sweep deal. Okay, and then here we can just kind of borrow that a bit, clean up our arc. Alright, so he's kicking up here. Let me do a little something here where I can actually see this a little bit better by popping in and let's see, zooming in a bit with this tool. Zoomify Light. Find it on high-end 3D. It's really kind of cool. Let you kind of get right in there and do some things. Alright, so our hand is kind of right there. And kicks down right there. What this will do, I do this all the time to help me kind of trace my arcs to make sure that things are going where I want them to go, and it helps me kind of troubleshoot where arc problems are. Right here it's a little sharp right there. I want it to flatten out. So what I want to do is I want this to be down like so, and I want this to be down like so, so that the arc is a little bit shallower right there on the bottom, so more of a U and less of a V. More of you and less of me. Okay. Alright. Trying to get the shapes working well there too. And then right here, it could be down just a bit. So let me just take this and move it down just a bit. And I kind of want to create the same sort of deal here with the fingers. Now the fingers are kind of creating their own strange arc, but I just work off the fingertips. So they're kicking out a bit. I don't really want that. I don't want fingers to kind of bounce back up outside of themselves. So I'm trying to create that and keep that feeling pretty clean as well. Anytime you have an object that its silhouette bounces outside of itself too much, so now we've got this kind of deal right there, which is pretty clean. This is a little bit on the outside right there, so let me go back to that key right there. And maybe what I just need to do, this could be a good place where we can kind of take the hands and just curl them in a bit so that the fingers aren't quite so out there. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's better. And then maybe drop the hand right there. So you can kind of get a sense that hand's doing a really nice sweep right there. See that? Nice sweep. Puffy clouds. Alright, come back here, hit reset on this business. And then this hand's actually going to be much easier to clean up. We can really we can see this stuff taking place. It's a simpler move because it doesn't go quite as far. So the breakdown on that's going to be simpler. Fingers here, hand there, elbow there, and then they kick around where the fingers are out here, the wrist is there, the elbow's there. So the elbow is going to come in, the wrist is going to do this, and the finger is going to do the biggest part of the move. So what we want here is we want the wrist to be coming down. We want the elbow to be kind of, let's kind of lead with that elbow right there. I'm going to drop the shoulder a bit too. I don't know why I just did all that on the wrong frame. There we go. Actually helps if you just do it on the right frame. Okay, like so. Kick that in like so. Kick that out like so. Drag this a bit so that the fingers really drag. As I think about it, I actually don't want to lead with the elbow in on this because I'm leading with the elbow in on that arm. So I don't want to do the same thing on both sides. I want the elbow to kind of make a transition, but I don't want it to lead. Okay, so our wrist goes from there to there. We can maybe arc the wrist down through there so it isn't a straight line. And that creates a little under arc right there at the elbow too, where the elbow kind of comes down a little bit and out and then comes in, and it hits right there. The only big thing right here is that the fingers are kind of kicking back on themselves. So I'm going to arc them out a little so that there's no flashing with that silhouette value with the fingers. What I mean by that is when I go like this, let me zoom in here again real quick. This is a little bit of a teaching moment, so let me take advantage of it. Okay, we have this deal with the fingers. The fingers are right, you know, this is the silhouette for the fingers. And they end up out here. So this is kind of like our goal silhouette out here. So the idea is, as long as our silhouette kind of plays anywhere along this continuum, it's going to read as smooth. Anytime that silhouette for the fingers pops outside, let me just kind of draw this in completely. Anywhere that the fingers move between in this green line area, it will read as a smooth flowing shape. At any time, if I roll the fingers back out, it's going to pop because it's going to go left, then swing right, and it won't look right. So we want it to kind of be somewhere in here, and this is a good time to also take a moment and maybe scrunching them up a little bit so we have a little bit of a curl in them so that we get a clean line right in there. And so you'll see as we go through it, as long as those fingers stay in that kind of cyan range right there, it reads as a clean sweeping shape. Okay, so I won't go into that too much more. Don't want to bore everybody with that little piece of detail. All right, and so our breakdowns, I mean, we can just use the computer's in-betweens for most of that other stuff. So let me then go ahead and just key each of these frames for all of these controllers so that I don't have any stragglers later on. Alright, so you get that sense right there. He's dropping down, the spine's reversing, the hand's making a clean sweep, the head's nice and stable. Not as stable as it could be. Between here and here, like from there to there to there, the head's kind of doing a weird thing. So what I'll do is, on that key right there, I'll just go ahead and I'll delete what's there and take what the computer gives me and then kind of build it again when I need to. So as it drops down, it's right there, and then it's kind of there again. So let me go ahead and just nudge it that way, and then right here I just want it to kind of stay on that line. Not perfect. It kind of goes down and then pops up, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave it up. And this is also a good place to maybe drag this up just a little bit so we have some compression right there, and then it can be down a bit. Trying to keep things smooth up there. This is how I polish my scenes. I just make the drawings and the shapes flow together better. It's easier to do it here than it is in a graph editor, because I can actually see what I'm doing. I can step through it and see how it works. So the head's kind of kicking that way. Lots of little things here. What I want to do is I want to get this first part of this move done for this video, and then we can kind of go on from here for the next one. The head makes a weird little hitch right there. I want the rotation of it to be fairly simple as well. And it's rotating a lot right there, and nothing, and then nothing. So it's rotating too much right there. So from here to here, I want the head to kind of lag a bit more, so it maintains this kind of rotation deal more. From there to there, alright, we can kind of spread that rotation a little bit better across that move. And then as he reverses his head angle to this right here, he's coming from this and he's switching to this, so it's kind of swinging under with the chin. I want to accentuate that swing under with the chin on these following frames. Okay, to kind of finish out that move. And you know how much his head is off right there feels a little weird. I don't want it to be perfectly linear, because then things feel really strange. But I also don't want it to pop real bad like right there. So a couple of things I can do here is I can kind of save the popping for the translation, and then save a little bit of that rotation for a little bit later. As it comes down here and kicks over. Alright, so comes here, then here. So maybe what we need to do is just rotate this a bit more to get that head back where it was. Alright. Still a big pop right there. So maybe what I can do is just take this guy and that thing right there and drag it up just a bit. Squash it a bit more. Okay, the chest is working okay, but the head still has it's better right through there, but it still has a pop right there. From here to here, so I can fix it one way or the other. I could. It's popping over to the lower right. It's kicking this way pretty strong. So the previous one, as he comes down, I could just kind of rotate him that way to kind of get the head starting in that direction, and then in here kind of bring it back a bit, kind of split the difference. There we go. The head's not popping so much. We're spreading that rotation out. It's really a contrast. That's a big thing about James Brown dances. His head, and it seems to be very stable. He's got like these multiple beats going on. He's got very fast feet, swingy arms, and a stable head. Just go watch his James Brown dances. That's like his deal. So he's got very active feet, like a middle beat with the arms, and the head is very stable for the most part. And it's got a great rhythm and texture all inside of one move, which is really kind of just genius when you think about it. So there we go. We got that part working. Seems to be working all right. So let me look at what we're going to do. There was a deal where the knees kind of do this thing and he shuffles. So let's just quickly kind of lay in what happens with those knees as he kind of works his way back. The next part is this knee. The toe twist kind of comes back that way, and the knee comes in this way. And we finish up with the toe twist a little bit further out that way, and this knee in like that. Oops. So it's going to be kind of like it's going to be that collision thing all over again. So what I'm going to do is just going to set keys on just the feet right now to kind of block that in. And then here I'm going to get that knee in a little bit more, and that one kind of kicked out. And when that one happens, the toe twist starts to come in a bit, and this one goes out a bit more to continue that twist, that shift. So as this comes in, let's not go ahead and get that thing shifting out. I keep making that mistake where I've got that foot sort of twisting out before it's time. Let me go ahead and take the ball down just a bit too. And keep it down just a bit more. Alright. I'm trying to create that knee knocking process. So that heel, the right heel is coming in, then it kicks out, out. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of save a lot of that out. It starts to go out, but really kicks out after. So it moves out a little bit as the knee comes in a lot, and then the knee comes in a little, and the heel kicks out a lot. So it's just a little bit of a texture mix right there. Knee big, heel small, heel big, knee small, as far as like the amount of movement. Okay, I'm not doing anything with the hips at this moment because I'm just trying to work out the tricky stuff with the feet. So knee in, bashes into this one. Let's go ahead and take this and make it more like before to really offset that feel. And then from here, take that deal where the knee's out there, and this one starts to come back. So let's see, come back in here. Right knee crashes, left knee kicks out. And as the left knee kicks out, that foot kind of turns in, but I got it turning in too much because it's changing that shape too much. So maybe something like that. There we go. This is this is very, very tricky right here. I'm just trying to get one more knee crash combination here, because as he comes down, the right knee crashes in, the left knee kicks out. The right knee kicks out, the left knee swings in. The right knee crashes, the left knee swings out. And then it's at this point right here where he's probably back up again. And let's see, crashes in, knee goes out. I'm trying to figure out which foot goes back, because all I did is, you know, in this little thing right here, I just said shuffle. Well, now I'm going to break down which leg is going to lead that shuffle. So let's see, I'm figuring this out on the fly, so bear with me while I figure this out. The right knee crashes in, left knee bounces out. That's a great place right there on that slide out to kind of start moving that back. So for that one to slide back, his weight has to be over this foot here for this to kind of start sliding back. Oops. So we need to kind of get the hips. Once again, I'm going to turn off the arms here because they're kind of distracting. And I'll probably turn the spine off too while I'm at it, and the head, just so I can get a sense of what's going on with the feet. So right there, we don't want that toe twist to be out quite so far, because he's got to start his shuffle right there. See that? So this knee kicking out right there, probably not so extreme, because it's all part of that shuffling back business. And then this guy right there, as it goes back, this is a good place to kind of do a little ball. It gives us a little stronger silhouette there too on that knee kick out. See that? And then we can kind of finish, foul beast. We can finish that slide back right there. And as we do that, we can work out what's going on with this foot right there. And we can kind of bring this in, and this knee can start to be coming in. There we go. So the right knee crashes, kicks the left knee out. As the left knee goes out, the left foot slides back. As the left foot slides back, his weight comes over his right foot, and his right foot, his knee starts to straighten out, and he carries the weight on his foot right there. But as he does that, we're going to have the ball lift be less, because since he's moving back, the weight can't be on his toe quite so much. He'll drop it just a bit more on the heel. Okay, so there to there. What we'll do is we'll get that all the way down to nothing. We'll get that down to nothing, and we will turn on the spine. So then we can kind of do something with the hips here, where they're kind of all the way back like so. And at this point he kind of straightens up. So I'm just going to block in very quickly everything kind of straightening up here. You may say, Keith, he's not supposed to be straight. You always say never animate anything straight. Well, like I said, it's a process. We're blocking here. Okay, so what needs to happen here is he comes down. That weight needs to stay down there. And then come across. And then come up. And as this foot slides back, it's going back a little too straight. I want it to kind of go back in on itself a bit. Notice again it's kind of coming screen left and popping screen right. We don't want that. We want it to have a process where it goes screen left, screen left. Okay, feels a little weightless right there. I think that's because the hips are perfectly halfway between down and up right there. So it feels rather weightless. So what I'm going to do here then is get that even more over there. They're down. So it comes down and they're kind of frozen, so maybe it shouldn't come down quite so much. Maybe it comes down right there, then down again a little bit. And then as he goes down, they go down over here a little bit. And then as he goes up from here to here, it would seem to me that they need to reverse again to kind of create that clean shape right there. All right. And so there, they should be down a bit. Just make them more like so. And then take this guy. Make his keys more like so. What I'm trying to do here is create, I've got the foot part working out. Now I'm trying to work the hips out on top of it. Normally I wouldn't work out stuff on such a level as this, but it's such a complicated piece of animation that I have to work it out this way. Kind of break it down into pieces so that I can make sense of what I'm doing. There, that's got better weight because it's switching to there and then it comes back up, and that's what helps it have some weight. I think the hips here are moving just a bit far right there, so I'm going to kind of nudge them back because they're down and we want them to kind of rise up as he slides. So I'm going to kind of nudge them a little bit. And right here, I think I'll nudge them. Well, I've already got that all posed out, so I'm not going to get too crazy about that. Down to the upper left, to the upper left, to the upper middle, to the upper middle. So it's as it goes from this extreme down position right here, that's like the furthest down it goes, up until this 10 drawing, it's going to kind of do this number right there. Always rising up and on that kind of a curve. Okay, see that? It comes over pretty strong. Okay, so 6 is right there. 7 starts to kick over a bit. 8's really quite a bit over, but it's up a bit too. Can maybe move it up a bit more. 9 is up a bit more, but then starting to come back to the right, and then 10 comes in there. So, if I were to go ahead and, zoom in on this, you'll definitely see a real strong sense of where this thing's going on an arc basis. So 7 kind of comes over here. 8, it's kind of continuing up. 9 is starting to kick back over. 10, it's kind of like that. So it's kind of doing this, but you notice as I trace it, it's pretty sloppy. If you take a look at that, it's a little jigger-jagger right there. So I'm just going to go through and clean it up so that it's got a clean motion right there. And right here, maybe we take it down a little bit, and there, it's up a bit much. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of cleaning that up so it has a nice flow to it. It's so much easier to clean up arcs and stuff like that at this level than it is to try and fart around with F-curves to do it. I mean, because that's just foul. Alright, so it's got a nice clean move there. So there's the beginning of our little shuffle. And that can kind of come in like this, and this guy can come in like this. And there's our foot slide. As it kicks in here, maybe we can go ahead and move that in a bit like this to kind of pull the heel in and pull it in a little bit more. There we go. And I think the ball is up a little bit early right there because it feels kind of stiff, like it's not making any change in the shape. So we want the ball to be at the highest right there as it slides back. It's kind of like a moonwalk deal here. See that? How the heel now starts to feel like it's lifting naturally. Alright, so I got a lot of junk right here. I got a lot of keys and a lot of different things that some of them are set, some of them aren't. So I'm just going to go through here and just set keys on these basic controllers through this move. And I think what I'll do is take all of these while I'm at it. The spine stuff too, because I didn't think I had the spines sorted out, so I didn't key those, but now I'm going to, because I think the spine's pretty well sorted out. Okay, so what's this? Now the arms are going to be a little bit weird right here, and the head will not be clean because I didn't clean anything for the arms or the head up past 6. So a lot of the stuff that's happening in the spine and things like that are going to kind of make things a little bit weird, but I will block in the arms right here. And the way he handled that in the reference videos, he kind of comes up and he does this little chug thing right here. So it's kind of like he's walking backwards with his arms. So I'm just going to roughly block them in. And this one right here, like so. And let's see, so as this one's coming back, it's low, and this one's up high front. So as it's coming this way, I'd imagine that this his right arm swings across this way on this up thing right here. So then, trying to work this out, he'd swing it across like this, and then this one would come up and forward as this one pulls back. So on this point right there, the left arm will be forward and up, and the right arm will be back and down. So the right arm is more back and down, and then the left arm is more up and forward. And that could be out like so, and the shoulders could work accordingly. And then of course, you know, we need to kind of create a sort of a breakdown here that makes sense. So these guys will kind of drag back in this way as it's going on its way back. I'm just trying to create a real simple breakdown that works. And dragging the hand with the palm up isn't a bad idea. Kind of makes things a little bit more interesting. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit stronger silhouette right there with the elbow and the hand. Maybe even kick it out a bit more since it's animation. We'll get a cleaner silhouette right there. And then for this one, we want this hand to feel like it's kind of marching its way up. And so here we don't mind leading with the elbow a bit. We'll get the shoulder kind of working. Maybe drag that hand like so. Trying to create clean shapes from this to this. You know, so this arm has that kind of a feel to it, and then it comes up and it's very much that sort of a deal. So somewhere in the middle here, we want to start to really kind of communicate that idea but be half of one and half the other. Alright, so the second idea is that the arm is bent like that. The first idea is that the arm is out and the fingers are out, like so. So this halfway point, we want to start showing that bend, but we still want to show part of the fingers out. That kind of creates that nice drag where it's kind of halfway between one and the other. Okay, now the elbow might be out just a bit far, because as I take a look at where the elbow is tracking, from there and there, so the middle point should be somewhere halfway between, and it kind of is. So it's a kind of a clean move up. Alright. So we got the arms cleaned up on this whole transition slide back deal. As he slides back, maybe we can get this hip up just a wee bit more. There we go. And then from here to here, the head pops pretty strong. You know, we worked really hard to get the head flowing down like this. And I did make some adjustments there to kind of kick that a bit. So on number 6, now I can start to make that sort of switch. What I'm going to do here is kind of save some of that move. I don't like that squash that much. So this is one of those instances where he's going to have to keep his balance moving forward here to make this move back. So to keep the head stable, I'm going to start rotating him forward so that the head shape stays a little more stable in screen. I'm thinking in terms, when I say head shape, I'm talking about what the head looks like in this 2D space. So I want that to be really, really clean as it comes forward. I don't want it to be distracting and popping a bunch. And it is popping forward quite a bit, so what I probably need to do is start cheating without losing this line of action here. I want to start cheating this thing to start bending forward so that that head doesn't change shape so much in one frame. Kind of because what's happening is the shape of the head is growing as it moves closer to the camera, and I want to keep the 2D, you know, we've got this 2D space right here. I want to keep that 2D curve clean, but I also want to start scaling the head progressively so it doesn't pop in one frame. There we go. So that way we feel his weight coming forward to get that to start to slide back on things. And it keeps the head stable as it comes forward. And of course, I haven't cleaned any of that business up at all, so you know, we're kind of running out of time here to clean that up. But I'll go ahead and I'll take the probably 10 minutes it's going to take me here to clean the rest of this move up all the way up to the 10th drawing. So without any further delay, let's get in here. I'm going to use some of these keyboard shortcuts I have here to do the trick. Let's see, can start to bend this way, bend this way. The hands I know are working the way I want, so I'm going to turn them off and off so I can kind of work a little bit faster here. And so here he's still going to be bending forward a bit. He's not going to be completely up all the way like he is there, and he'll still be forward just a bit here. And notice I'm trying to bend him forward in space to change the shape, the size of his head, without losing what I'm trying to accomplish in the curve of the body here. Alright, so I'm tracking his head, and what happens here is it's kind of coming down and to the right, which is what I want. It's doing this, but then it starts to come up and then pops over to the left right there, which is something I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cheat it to the right by counter rotating those deals right there. Okay, so it's kind of pops up right there. Don't want that. And it kind of pops forward too, so I'm going to cheat this a little bit by rotating it forward on the X so that the scale change isn't quite so noticeable. So I'm doing a lot of work to control the shape and the size of the head,
by controlling the upper and middle chest, because that's a great way to keep things nice and simple. If you can solve your problems there without over relying on moving that head around, you end up with much easier cleanup time later on. All right, so we got 5, 6, 7, 8 working pretty well. So as he's kind of going on his way up here to 10, I think what would work nice, well, I kind of like that idea there because he's kind of still leaning to the right here, so his head should kind of counter that. So somewhere here as he's leaning this way, as he comes down here like that, maybe somewhere in the middle, if he just did a little bit of something like this. And then his head can kind of come up a bit, well, maybe a little strong right there. I want to keep them having a sense that he's balancing himself with his head right there, but I want to make sure that everything kind of, we don't get this wagging kind of, ball on a stick feel with the top of his head. So as I kind of step through these things, I'm trying to watch and make sure that if he's rotating on his head, I want it to feel like he's rotating from around his nose. Not like this, but like this. It's a little bit different. It has more weight that way. Then here's a place where we can kind of cheat him forward a bit. We can kind of drag that head down a bit because he's pulling up pretty strong right there. So as he comes forward, maybe drag the head back, and then it can kind of drag down as it comes back up again. So as he comes forward, the head drags a bit, and then comes down a bit, drags, and then comes up. There we go. So as he comes forward, the head stays back, and then as his chest comes back, his head comes down. That's how you create drag. Two things moving in different directions, two things overlapping each other, if that word. One leading, the other one following. One of those will make sense to you. All right, the amount that his head kind of pops over here to the right kind of is a little distracting right there, right? Bam, there, and then back there. So what we want to do there is we need to do something to kind of soften that up a bit. So what do we do if we just kind of cheat it right there? That also tends to soften up this little pop right there, makes that a little less severe. So we'll kind of straighten that up a bit. So we spread that. We killed two birds with one stone. We make the chest unfolding a little bit less poppy, and it also stabilizes the head on a more central line. So we're trying as much as possible through this whole move to keep the head pretty stable. All right. I'm probably dragging it a bit too much right there. In fact, I know I am. So I'm going to kind of bring that back a bit because it's kind of popping as I scrub through it. Dragging a bit much there, dragging a bit much there, and then coming up there. There we go. So what we've got here is we've got this deal where the head's kind of going up and down, which is very James Brown. We've got the hips kind of doing this side-to-side deal right there. All right? And we've got the feet and the knees kind of doing their thing underneath. So we got this deal with the feet and the knees, and then the hips, and then the arms doing their thing, and then the head's kind of just going up and down. It's crazy stuff. But it's really cool once we work it out. So down, knee, 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 knee. All right, so what's it look like if we take and turn on the arms? And kind of go, well, I want to make sure I have everything keyed, because when I go to kind of clean this stuff up later, I want to make sure I have keys on everything. So what I do is I just have a little keyboard shortcut or a shelf button to select everything, and then I just go through drawing by drawing or key by key and just key every single channel. what that gives me when I open up, say, something like my dope sheet, I have no blank spots. See that? No forgotten channels, no forgotten objects. So when it comes time to spread the keys out later on for my timing, it's not, I'm not forgetting something, I'm not leaving something behind, which is not a good thing when that happens. So there you go. First couple bits of the move right here, going into the whole shuffle back. Kind of taking a look at a few more little things right here. I think the toe twist could be a little stronger right there. And it can start to kind of come in right there. There we go. Kind of spread that out a little bit. And what I'm going to do here, just a couple little minor tweaks, is I don't want it to slide quite so far, quite so fast. I kind of want to have it feel like it's spinning away from there, and then after the spin it starts to slide back. I had it sliding too soon. It was making it feel pretty weightless. There we go. One other thing that makes it feel kind of weightless now that I look at it, and this is going to create some problems for my head cleanup, but his weight isn't over this right foot enough to make it feel like that there's the right kind of support there. And so that will create problems with the head. One way to kind of fix that is to kind of rotate back underneath it. And then here also. And I did clean up the hips for that sweep up, so I'm going to have to kind of do that again. This sort of thing happens all the time where you clean something and you're like, no, it doesn't work right, so you got to go back and kind of fix it. Alright, so right there, maybe rotate it back that way to kind of keep the head stable. So there. Kind of counter-rotate that a bit to kind of keep the head sort of stable. There. Okay, and as I look at, of course now the hands kind of have their deal as well. And I didn't clean up, what the arcs look like on the hands here either, but that's something I'll save for a little bit later. And, well, or not. Maybe I'll just do it right now, like a dummy. There we go. So the only thing I'm going to look at one real quick time here before I sign off is just making sure that those hips kind of arc up the way I want. And they pretty much do. Okay, so there you go. I could keep noodling this, but we're going to save the next part for next month. Hour and 23 minutes. Not too bad of progress. I'm animating real time, explaining it as I go. So hopefully I'm making enough progress for y'all. If you have any questions or anything like that, hey man, let's hear them. And it's always good to hear the feedback. Some of it I can actually do something about. Some of it I can't. But again, if you have any ideas or questions about what I'm doing or stuff like that, I tried to move as fast as I could without losing you. So there you go. Anyhow, see you next month.
I feel nice, like sugar and spice.